Diana, Dodi and me. Hi, good morning, Neil Sean here in the heart of London. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you're keeping well. Welcome one and all to all the brand new subscribers. And as ever, I'm somewhere very glamorous today. I'm in St. James's and I'm outside the home of a very special lady. Simply because we talk about girl power a lot on the show, don't we, and how people have influenced the world. But this is the home of Nancy Astor. Now, Nancy Astor was the very first lady to ever sit in Parliament, a true groundbreaking lady, fought hard to get there, and of course paved the way for so many women around the world. They talk about women today being, leaders and breakers and things like that. These were the true breakers, ladies, simply because they were in a man's world, and it wasn't as easy then because we didn't have the power of all the digital age and things like that. But I think what's interesting to note is that they didn't stop. They ploughed forward. Now, this particular abode, as you can see from the footage, isn't exactly, slumming it. So let's assume that she did have a little bit of money, a little bit of help behind her. But back as ever to one of your breaking royal stories coming out of London today. Now, a lot of people ask me, what are my connections to the British royal family? How did I get going in this particular sphere? Well, I was just very lucky. I worked for all the major networks and still do in some cases, the likes of Sky News, Fox, across Australia, the Netherlands, all across Europe, and they all are fascinated by our British royal family. So today I thought I'd share a very quick recollection of meeting possibly two of the most famous people associated with the British royals. That is, of course, the late, great and wonderful Princess Diana, and of course her one-time on-off squeeze, whichever you wish to believe, Dodi Al-Fayed. And how on earth did I get to meet Dodi Al-Fayed? Well, here's the deal. I was actually working for his father, Mohammed Al-Fayed, who was, of course, the very famous owner of the international store Harrods. Marvellous place, still marvellous today. Do go and have a look if you get a chance. I like driving past at night when all the lights are on. It's magical. And of course, you don't have to spend a fortune, to go into Harrods. I used to just go in to get a pint of milk because we all wanted those green bags, didn't we? But moving forward with the story, as I say, how I got to work for Mr. Al-Fayed and subsequently met his son, Dodi, was this. Mr. Al-Fayed had set up a radio station opposite Harrods in an office block that he owned called Trevor House. It was a sort of start-up, and basically the radio station was a buyout from a frequency called Liberty Radio. And the bottom line was this, that, Mr. Al-Fayed wanted his own media voice. A lot of rich people do this, they buy the company so that they can get their message across. Today you just do it like we're doing now on digital social media. Now, a lot of people say, what was Mr. Al-Fayed like? You have to speak from experience. Cheeky, fun, and really, really nice. Got all the jokes, totally understood, and gave me a very big break in radio, letting me host, my own show on the channel. Now, that's how I also was able to meet mega superstar Michael Jackson. Tell you all about that a little bit later on, but it was a great meeting. And this is the sort of person Mr. Al-Fayed was. He was very connected. But it was in the reception of that particular radio station that I bumped into on many occasions Dodi Al-Fayed. Now, what was Dodi like? Well, let me tell you, Dodi Al-Fayed was a fascinating man because he had some sort of leanings towards filmmaking. He wasn't that successful, but he did want to be successful in the world of Hollywood. Now, what I could tell you was this. When he turned up in those reception rooms, he just smelt divine. And you know the sort of thing what I'm talking about when people look like they've got money. He looked like he got money, obviously. We used to chat, all very easygoing, that sort of stuff. But here's where it got interesting for me because sadly on the last year of his life, he would come into the studios quite a bit. And he always wanted to know who I'd met, interviewed, that sort of stuff. He was cheeky, like his father. Now, I was cheeky back and said to him, I see you've got a new girlfriend. And he said, yeah. He said, I can't really talk much about that. And I said, is it serious? Now, this to me has played back in my mind many times because he said, well, let's say we're having fun. Now, let me tell you this. That statement said oodles about where that relationship was because I never truly believed that Princess Diana wanted to marry Mr. Al-Fayed or Dodi, and I don't think he wanted to marry her. I think they were both two people lost trying to find some direction, and both having fun at rather difficult times in their lives. A lot of people say, oh, you know, and including Mr. Al-Fayed, he was trying to push the fact that, of course, his son was going to be connected somewhat to the British royal family. That was never going to be the case. I do believe that after that summer break, things really petered off. And as Diana often told some very close associates of mine, she just liked being looked after. She just wanted to be cherished, someone to actually take care of things. You can understand that, given what she'd gone through. As I say, I saw Dodi quite a few times, not just at the radio studios, but also had his own apartment just off Park Lane near the Dorchester Hotel, all very swish. And of course, they used to have some spectacular parties. So whatever people say about, you know, people like Mr. Al-Fayed, Dodi and Diana, for those that got close to them, even though for just a short period and very small conversations, what I can tell you is I truly believe there was no romance, there was a deep friendship, and they were both looking for something different in their lives, but not necessarily each other. Now, a lot of people saying, why are you sharing this? Well, that's part of the channel. I'd like to share with you some of my cherished memories of meeting certain people so you can understand where I'm coming from. When I'm reporting on these particular events, I have more detail and more insight than anybody else who you would be possibly watching. And for that, I truly do thank you for watching the channel. Neil Sean in the heart of London.